All right. I think we're live. We're live. We're live. So we'll see what happens here. Um, got a couple announcements tonight too. So here, but we got two guys from Missouri and two guys from Nebraska. Right.
Right.
Right on.
Okay. All right. So we'll get started here. The attendance feed is showing a 0. Oh, here we go. It made that thing isn't really that accurate because Todd Patrick's on here. Todd Patrick, welcome, Todd. Glad to have you aboard. And by the way, anybody that gets on here, yeah, right. Only my wife says that, Todd, because she got to go to the Dominican Republic last week, so she's pretty happy.
A lot of people say that about you, Marty.
Oh yeah.
Nobody has anything bad to say about you.
Well, I don't know. I was a high school principal. Remember that?
Oh, that's true.
but I had a good time. Alex is here. So yeah, my wife. We just got back from an amazing vacation in Dominican Republic. Made a few friends with the guys that live there, and they've been messaging me. I'm going to get them some poles because they don't have fishing poles there.
Oh
wow.
They can't find them, and they sling this thing they have, and they cast with just a line with their baits, and then they catch fish that way. And so I made some friends. So we're going to see what we can do for me. Kind of fun to see what happens. But so David's here too. So we'll get started here. So basically, everybody that gets on here now, this will be on YouTube as well. On there for you, so you can share it then. But man, if we got Hammerville here tonight, whoo. We got Chad Davison from Missouri. Chad, what's your town?
I live in Columbia,
Missouri. Oh man, you're on the east side then, aren't you?
It's right in the middle of Missouri.
Middle, okay. Yeah,
it's dead center between Kansas City and St. Louis.
Okay, cool.
And then, I live about 5 minutes away from the Missouri Tigers football stadium.
Geez, that's pretty cool. And then we got Dorman Hughey from Missouri. Dorman, what town are you from? Branson. He's right in Branson.
Yeah.
My dream spot.
Right in the middle of Tri-Lakes.
Nice. No wonder you're so good in those lakes. You live right there. It's a home field advantage.
It kind of is. I grew up on them, so yeah.
Yeah. And then we got Tyler Alexander from Omaha.
Yep.
And he fishes with the Central States, as you can see up on he's got a wall going.
Yeah.
And if we need crocodile baits, we give Chad a call.
Yeah.
Look at that.
They keep me stocked up.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. And then, and by the way, I think it's from the profits they make off of me. So anyway, so we got these guys on here. We had a big event last week in the Midwest. And there's a lot of big events going on. In fact, we had the Hobie Series this weekend, right?
Right.
I know.
Down on Caddo.
Yeah, we got who raise your hand if you fish Caddo. Nobody?
Never
have not.
I fished it twice.
Well, I want to.
Yeah, it's amazing. It is literally yeah, it's amazing.
They've been posting pictures of bigs all day.
Yeah. It's nuts down there. And it's there's no really deep spots. It's like 3-4 foot most of the places, and some places it's a foot or two.
That's my kind of fishing there.
Yeah, it is. And you never know how big they're gonna be. In the water, it's like I'm trying to think of the word. It's a brownish,
like a
tannic water. So you think you're fishing deep, but you're not. But anyway, that's going on. But you guys fished in the big bass, the Ozarks Big Bass 250 last weekend, and I don't even know who put that on. Can you guys help me with that?
Yeah, it was sponsored by there's a Eco Fishing Shop. They're an online kayak retailer, and they also have like a regular big store with a showroom in Camdenton, right there by Lake of the Ozarks.
I wonder if we lost Marty. He froze up there.
Are we back?
There you go.
Yep.
You're back
There you
now.
are.
Okay, maybe it's me. I don't know.
Yeah, you froze up.
Okay. All right. So Chad, go ahead. What was that again? Who sponsored it?
It's the Eco Fishing Shop. They have a store in Camdenton. They're right by Lake of the Ozarks, and they also sell kayaks. They're a large online kayak retailer. I
Okay.
think they're based out of Arkansas, but
Nice. Well, they put on a show, didn't they?
They did.
absolutely.
All the
I think 4 kayaks, and
Mhm.
I mean, the list of big items they gave away was huge, like a motor guide, XI3, a Malone trailer, like a whole bunch of Dakota lithium batteries. Like the kayaks were like rigged out with like torpedoes, and they had black packs, and yeah, big. They were giving away Bixby's and power poles,
Yeah.
and it was amazing.
It was on.
wow. That's pretty cool. So anyway, that's first I want to give everybody kind of some accolades here of you guys so they know who we're talking to here. You know, like Chad, AOI All-American. That's huge. AOI Moyak this year. That's tough to pull off. And then you got 3 seconds in a win at Bull Shoals in the All-American. That's tough. And then you got a Bassmaster top 5, and you got the big bass at the Ozarks Big Bass bash deal, or Big Bass 250, and that was worth $10,000. Between the 3 of
Right.
you won $19,000 there. All right. That's amazing. And then Dorman won the Big Bass, and he was he's 3-time Moyak Angler of the Year. Obviously, Chad has brought that string to an end. Dorman, what's going on there?
I had an off season this year.
Yeah,
last year we beat the man by 1 point though. So I mean,
Yeah.
he's good.
Man.
He's real good.
I couldn't take it if he beat me by 1 point again.
Yeah. Wow. And then you won the 2020 AOI team title with Jim Harding, and the Tanny 20 this year with the Crocagator Tanny 20, I believe. That's pretty cool. So you guys have got some big wins. And then Tyler's kind of the hammer guy up in Nebraska, man. He gets it done. Wilson Lake got a first. That was part of the Central States Kayak Series, and he got the All-American first there as well. Won at Elwood, one of the first events of the year, and second at Black Hawk. And then he was a top 12 finish at the Bassmaster at Lake Fork. So between you guys on here, you've done quite a bit of damage out there as far as taking everybody's money.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool. So the thing though that I want to have you guys talk about is Todd Patrick says, I'll take all 3 on my KFL team. Got to send them contracts. I'll tell you what, you'd have a pretty good team here on that.
I ended up getting 4th in that Ozarks tournament this past weekend.
You were 4th in that too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I was the only non-Missouri guy in the top 10.
Oh my gosh!
There was only 3 non-Missouri guys in the top 20. So, and then Chris Longshore was 11th, so we had 2 Nebraska guys in the top 20.
Wow.
It's a tough place to go in there against, all these guys they're good anglers, and I never seen the lake until this weekend.
Man,
home field advantage.
Yeah,
a little bit.
We knew that coming in, but
yeah, I'm trying to share this on my personal page so we get some more people here, and I don't think I'm logged in as Kayakjak though. Let's see here. Yeah, I am. Okay, so a front came through, right? Who wants to talk about the front that came through?
Wow, is all I got to say.
Yeah.
The wind, it was total 180.
So like you pre-fished and then it just changed.
It just, yeah.
We woke up.
Wearing.
Oh, go ahead.
I was wearing flip flops and shorts on Friday, and a t-shirt, and then when we woke up that morning, it was about 40 degrees and the winds were blowing about 30 miles an hour.
Wow.
That's what I was going to say. We woke up Friday to pre-fish. It was 70 degrees at like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. And then that next tournament day, it was like 45.
Jeez.
and wind just howling. It was
Oh,
unreal how
terrible.
bad the wind was.
You fished the coves, back in the coves, and be out of the wind?
No, I was in the very back of a cove, and no, he was still in 2-foot rolls.
I was back in a cove too, but the wind was still there. It was swirling.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah,
didn't
it's like
matter.
a big
I mean,
washing machine.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then was there some guys that capsized in that one?
I think there was 2 or 3 that did.
Yeah, I heard
Jeez.
3.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
Wow.
they was out on the main lake too.
Oh my gosh. And everybody turned out okay though. Everything's okay.
Yeah. Everybody got out and on the bank safely. I think a bass boat had to help one of them, if I remember
Mhm.
right.
Now, there were still some pretty good bass caught in that. So each of you had success. So let's go with Chad. Chad, what were you successful with on a cold morning? It was cold, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was low 40s. And the thing about it was, we took off at 7, lines in at 7:30. I made a 2-mile run, actually went across about a half a mile stretch of the main channel to get to my area. And I was a little concerned that I wasn't going to be able to make it across. I mean, I have the Old Town Autopilot 136. It's a big boat, and it handles rough water well, but I was a little concerned I was going to have trouble, but I made it okay. Got over there right at 7:30, and the temperature was actually still dropping. So I think that the front was still kind of pushing through, and at least the way it seemed to me is I caught what ultimately ended up being the big fish of the tournament. I caught it on the 3rd cast of the day, and the wind was kind of howling into this big rocky point, and I was throwing the head knocker buzz bait, and they were, I had quite a bit of action on the buzz bait there in the first hour, but then it seemed like the bite shut off for me. And I kind of reasoned to myself that maybe it was because the front finally moved through and it was kind of starting to be post front. It's kind of the way it felt to me, but I don't know what everybody else's experience was.
And by the way, those buzz baits you're using were by Kayakjak, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's Kayakjak head knocker. It's called the X Bite. The X Bite version it comes without a skirt. It just has like a wire keeper for your plastics, and they actually design their own. It's called the X Toad. It's a trailer that goes perfectly onto that buzz bait. I have it right here, and it incorporates the design where it allows you to put a trailer hook on there, and the Toad will hold your trailer hook in place as well. So it's kind of a unique system for a buzz bait. It's all designed to work together, and it gets big bites. This was a 3/4 ounce, and 3/4 ounce with that big blade. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I'm ready for next year, Chad.
Yeah.
I've caught a number of big fish on that bait this year. I had big bass of the tournament at Bull Shoals, and it was on a 1/2 ounce, but it was the head knocker X Bite, same black with gold blade, and they just get big bites.
Yeah,
they did damage.
Yeah. Now, did you try the jig though at all?
I did. I 3 of the fish that ended up being in my biggest 5 on the jig, but those all came later in the day. The sun came out eventually in the afternoon. It was sunny. It cleared off, and the wind actually kind of died down a little bit. And I was pitching to docks and skipping behind docks. I caught one on a dock corner that was in deeper water, and I pitched the jig up to the dock corner, and I think it was in about 25 foot of water, and it fell a few feet, and then I basically picked up on it, and it was heavy, and then I caught a couple of them skipping the jig behind docks, like underneath the walkways to like a concrete walkway pier, and those were all fairly close to the end of the tournament.
Nice. So Dorman, what was working for you?
pretty much anything I wanted to throw, to tell you the truth.
Wow.
It was a good day. You ever have one of the magical days? This day was almost like that. It didn't start off that way, of course, but it ended up that way.
So the magic dock. Tell us more about the
magic dock. All right, about 8:30, 9 o'clock or so. The wind, I got tired of fighting the wind and so on, so I was just letting it blow me back. But I had found this dock in pre-fishing and never cast it on it one time. I just had this feeling about this dock. Anyhow, I finally got blown back down to it and so on, skipped it up between two of the floats. This is in probably anywhere from 7, 8 foot of water, maybe that deep. But skip between two floats, thump, set the hook, 18.75. I'm like, all right.
Wow.
Well, as I'm measuring and, taking my picture and everything, the wind's blowing me back down. And this is only 20 yards from the ramp from my truck. I mean, it's right there. It blew me back down to the ramp. So after I got done taking the picture, I caught a roller earlier that morning and I was soaking wet and I was freezing cold. So I decided to take about a 15-minute break, went up to the truck, started it up, warmed up real quick, got back in the kayak, went back up to the same dock, skipped it up underneath almost the exact same cast, a 20 1/4.
Jeez.
Pulled her out, got her up on the board, started taking the picture, it blew me back down to the ramp again. I didn't get out this time. I ended up paddling back up to it, skipped it to the front. I mean, maybe 2 foot further away from where I casted, 17 3/4. Bam.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, 3 casts, 3 of my biggest fish that day. Yeah, it was magic.
Did you get some more from that dock then, or just those 3?
No, just those 3. I never had another bite on that dock all day.
Wow.
And trust me, I checked it a few times.
Yeah. What was, can you tell us what kind of bait was working for you?
I was throwing a jig. It was a mouse color jig with a the bomb trailer watermelon red.
Mm-hmm.
Why that combo worked, I have no clue, but it did.
Wow. And then, okay, so Tyler's a jig guy. I know he is.
Nope, not that this weekend.
Don't tell me the Nico was working.
Nope. So we went down. We went down Thursday. We left Omaha like 2 a.m. and drove down there and fished early. Or Thursday, Friday. In tournament on Saturday. 2 days of practice in the tournament. I caught every single fish on one bait. And I threw all kinds of other stuff, but this one bait, everything bit on. I was just throwing a Strike King caffeine shad, Texas rig weightless.
Yeah.
Just running it on the top. They'd come up and grab it, or if I just let it sink down a little bit, they'd grab it under the water. And that's
what I was doing with the bait too.
That's kind of what happened on tournament day. It was the very first spot we went to, fished it for a few hours, and then went and checked some other stuff Thursday afternoon and Friday. And then decided to go back to that area and caught a few fish on the outer edge closer to the main lake and just worked my way back. Got all the way back in this pocket. I'm in 1.5 foot of water, and I just kind of did an underhand pitch cast underneath this tree that was hanging over the water, and then there was a bunch of leaves that were piled up like a mat. And I got next to that mat of leaves, and I just seen a swirl. Bass came out underneath those leaves and just smoked it, and it was an 18.5.
Jeez.
1.5 foot of water. So I worked my way back out, and I get out a little bit and was working along the bank on these leaves because they were out 5 feet from the shoreline. And I was just working the edge of these leaves and got another 18.5 with 5 minutes later. And then a few minutes later, I doing the same thing. I cast it out there, and like Dorman was saying, the wind was just swirling around, so it kind of pushed me. So I stopped my cast and adjusted my boat and went to tighten up my line, and something grabbed it when it was falling down, and I must have slacklined the hook set or something, because I went set the hook, and all I seen was I pulled the fish up to the surface, and his big old head came out of the water, and then it was just gone.
Jeez.
So it was definitely an upgrade for me. I don't know how big it was. It would definitely been a couple inch upgrade for me.
Wow.
And then,
And then, go ahead.
I said it kind of died off. Like Chad was saying, the bite kind of died because that all happened around 8:30 or so. And then it kind of died for a while, and I was getting a few small ones here and there. And then the last hour, I think I got a couple 15.5s and a 15. I caught a 15, which was like a half-inch upgrade at like 329. It was like my last cast I was going to make, and got hit on it. And I just hauled him in, took the picture, and got him right at the last second. And that was at like 3 o'clock or 2:30. My drive broke. So I fished the last 30 minutes, old school, like Dorman, just paddling around because my drive wasn't working.
Wow.
Luckily, I was close to the ramp, so I didn't have far to go.
Yeah. Did when you guys were fishing, were there any anglers around you, or were you by yourselves? Or
I was by myself.
Yeah.
When we launched at 7, there was a boat tournament going on, and there was probably about 15 boats in that marina. Jeez. And they were holding off to launch because it was still dark at 7 when we took off. So I was worried we were going to get bugged by boats. But all those boats took off about 7:15, 7:20, and they went all up lake. Never. I think I seen one boat all day, but there was a few kayakers around me.
Yeah. What about you, Chad?
Yeah, I saw 2 other kayakers in my area, and they must have launched in a different spot than I did. There was nobody at my ramp, which I launched. My family has a place there, and there's a private launch that they have a pay box, and you can pay $5 to launch, and that's where I launched from, and it was 2 miles for me to get to my where I wanted to fish. And then when I got there was a couple kayaks there, but we were all kind of fishing different stuff, so we never got in each other's way. I don't feel like. And then there was a number of bass boats in and out all day, but the nice thing about bass boats, it seems like, is I worry more about if there's a kayaker in my area than if there's a bass boat, because they usually fish for a little while and leave. And the kayakers, they're going to hunker down and stay for a while. So, but yeah, there was some boats around.
Yeah, I had that same deal happen to me down at Kentucky Barkley Lake down there. I saw nobody for the whole day, and then met a kayaker on the way out, and then he followed me the next day. And I was more concerned about him than the bass boats that came in, because they were there for like 2 minutes and they leave. But this guy was like watching, and going around. And like, man, because I only had a small stretch there, and
sure.
But he ended up leaving. So I pretty much fished by myself for 3 days. Nobody, and right off the highway.
That's amazing. I was listening to your podcast you did recently with Cody and Russ.
Yeah.
And I heard you talking about that. That's pretty amazing that you had that area to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there was a big bridge, highway bridge, big area for people to pull off, and at the ramp, I was the only one there. And on the last day, there were people when I got back, but even when I pulled in, there was a roadbed right by the ramp. And when I fished in that bay, there was one crappie boat, and I fished that whole roadbed and nobody anywhere around. And then that one kayaker, but he didn't make the cut. And so he said, "Hey, it's all yours tomorrow." And so I said, "Okay." And
I appreciate that.
it was the main highway right down the middle. Nobody realized that was there.
You just never can tell, when you pull up to an area for the tournament, sometimes you'll think there's going to be a ton of boats there, and then there's nobody. And then other times you think that you found something sneaky, and then there's like a dozen people there. So you just never can tell.
Yeah, that's just the opposite. It was several years ago at Kentucky Lake, and I pulled in there, and it was, the middle of the night, and I'm like, "Oh man, I got the whole place to myself. This is awesome." And then 30-something people showed up. And we were like 10 yards apart when we started to fish, because it was a popular bluff, and I didn't realize how popular it was till I got there.
That makes for a long day.
Oh, he froze up again.
Yeah.
Let's see if he comes back.
Come on back.
Tyler, are you okay? He's back.
Here he is.
Don't know what's going on here. I think the wind's blowing pretty good here now too. So Well, we're getting that front pretty close to here, I believe now, coming in. That's why I went out tonight, and I caught 20 something fish. So I just want to give an update. I'm on 1,997.
Wow.
We need 25 more.
You might get that in one more trip.
Yeah,
So
you're
you can get
set.
that.
I hope. Supposed to do a fundraiser on Saturday, but the low is going to be 17.
Yeah.
The high is 36. So I don't know if I want to brave that Saturday. So we'll figure. I'll do something here between Thursday and Friday and say something about it. But anyway, back to you guys on the fishing down there. Do you guys think that we're going to see a lot more events like this in the future?
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
I talked a little bit with the shop manager there from Eco Fishing Shop, and I think it's their intention. They really want to grow this thing and create like a destination event where it's going to be something that's really going to draw people in. I mean, I think they're obviously committed to it with the amount of effort and giveaways and everything that they put into it this year. I think this is just the beginning. So, and we got the All-American Kayak Classic as well here in Missouri, and so that's a couple big events that we're pretty lucky to have that here.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the KBF, we don't know where they'll. Now, I think he's going to Gunnersville again next year, or Huntsville down there. You got the Hobie Series. They're actually not far from where Southern Missouri is.
No,
but we have some big events. It's in the Midwest and South.
We got some really good fishing here.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And
yeah.
Who's to say that we don't get a real big event at Table Rock? Maybe
Exactly.
Or all three, Bull Shoals and Taneycomo.
But wasn't it earlier this year that we had 157? I think it was on Table Rock for spring.
Yeah, that was the Moyak event.
Yeah, that's just the Moyak event.
And
Right.
even up here in Nebraska, Iowa, we're growing so fast that we pretty much have merry-go-rounds because our lakes aren't very big.
Yeah.
And so we're doing more Roadrunner events. But you can, at this point, this juncture, I know 5 years ago or 7 years ago, there were maybe one or two major events, and they weren't even major.
Yeah.
And now you can literally drive on a weekend somewhere in the Midwest here. You have your choice of 3 or 4 tournaments every weekend all summer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that's a good thing in a way. I mean, it gets us more opportunities. But you think about it, between us 4 guys here, probably almost $25,000 won in the last 2 weeks.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really going to start getting the attention of more bass boat guys.
Yeah.
I would think, because the big checks that we're waving around, they're starting, I think, maybe to notice that a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I bet you this event doubles next year.
Yeah.
We're just getting around with the prizes were just off the charts.
Yeah.
And the payouts. I mean, I bet you they have a really, really good turnout next year for this tournament.
Yeah.
I think they will.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was a lot of scheduling conflicts for people because some guys are going to the Hobie. My wife said that's when we're going to the Dominican Republic, so had to go there. But and there was the finals of the KFL, things like there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on.
Deer season.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they're going to change the date.
Well, the thing about Lake of the Ozarks is you don't really want to fish it until the big boat traffic is died down, and that's one reason why I think they had it late. But also, that fishing is really tough in the fall, and these Ozark lakes, November and December is like a prime time to fish.
Yeah, they turn on
these lakes. So I mean, this event almost could have been a week or two later, in my opinion. But our temps are really going to start getting cold. But the fishing gets hot.
Yeah. I can see that too. Yeah. So next year, what do you guys, each of you, what are you looking forward to next year?
I'm ready for the schedules to come out so I can start trying to make some decisions.
Yeah, isn't that something to have to make decisions of where you got to go, where you want to go?
It's tough.
Yeah, and you're like, I joined the Moyak thinking I would get some, but it didn't happen this year. And then the IAC has they have a great series for next year. Central States has an incredible series next year of locations. All American has a great schedule already out.
Yeah.
We got, I think in March, we got the Bassmaster National Championships. I'll be heading down for that.
Yeah.
Are you heading down there too, Chad? You qualified, didn't you?
Yeah, I did it. I qualified at Grand, so be headed down there. It's on Chickamauga.
Yeah.
And
man.
I have never been, and I don't know much about fishing grass, and so I figure I'll be. I have my hands full on that one, but it'll be a neat experience. I was able to fish at Lake Russell this spring for the national championship, so to fish it 2 years in a row would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I fished the one at Possum Kingdom. That was awesome. That was pretty cool. The first one, anyway. So I was going to ask you guys, big event. Any of you guys going to fish a big trail event next year, like the Hobie, the KBF, or of course, Bassmaster? You're already fishing the national championship. Where will your emphasis lie next year?
I mean, for me, it's going to revolve around the schedule to some extent. I mean, I'm interested in the All-American Series. I really am anxious to see what happens with Bassmaster. I mean, sounds like they're trying to implement some serious changes with new tournament director and see what kind of schedule they come out with. But I mean, it's really hard, Marty, that to travel for 18, 20 plus hours to an event. You can't do too many of those and have a job and a family and everything. So I'm hoping that there'll be tournaments that will fit. Everything will kind of fit together with the locations and conflicts with the schedule and everything, but it's just hard to know. I've never fished a Hobie event. I'm not your typical kayaker. I don't really like to fish sitting down, which eliminates pedal drives and paddling for me. I mean, I came from a bass boat and I like the autopilot because I can stand up and fish. But the Hobies, with them not allowing motors, I wouldn't look forward to fishing that. I do have a pedal drive that I bought earlier this year as a river kayak. I could theoretically fish a Hobie out of it, but I'm just not. I don't really feel like it's my comfort level. So
Sure, everybody has their own way of doing it, and that's the thing is there's a lot of versatility here. I mean, I've through all stages where, it was all paddle, and then there were a few pedals, and then there were a lot of pedals and a few paddles, and then there were a few motors and a lot of pedals, and now there's a lot of motors and a few pedals, and who knows where it's going to go. I don't know what the advantages of it unless you know what your strengths are, which Chad, and you guys here know your strengths and what you can do there. Like for me, I bought a motor in a PA-14 last winter, never put it in the water, and I sold it because I just said, I'm not ready for that, and so I pedal and paddle. I know Tyler, you pedal.
Yep. And the only reason I would want a motor is lacrosse wasn't that bad this year, but we went and fished Lewis and Clark. Man, that was terrible. That current up there was really bad, and we launched, and it took an hour and 15 minutes of nonstop pedaling upstream to get to my spot. It was awful. I was beat. I mean, I was ready to fish, but I was beat. I mean, it was I couldn't stop because the current. I'd lose all my progress because the current would push me back. It was terrible. So that would be the only reason to get a motor is for if I did any more river tournaments.
Well, I mean, there's different ways of doing it too. I mean, if you find eddies and so forth, you can still paddle. The
spot we had picked out though was unless we went, way upstream and launched and then just took the current down, but then we'd have to have a way of getting picked up at another ramp, down, so we didn't have to go back.
Sure. And the other thing is, I don't know if there's really a clear advantage other than, your strengths. Drew Gregory's getting it done with the paddle kayak.
Yeah.
Dorman Hughey, you're paddling, aren't you?
Paddle only. Yep.
Yeah. And I do about half and half, now.
I would love to just spend a day and watch Dorman fish, because I was lucky enough. I fished around Jim Harding a little bit. This was like when I first 2 years ago, when I just started to get into kayak fishing, and I actually bought a PA-12 had it for about 6 months, and just watching him fish and paddle, and it's such an amazing skill. It blows my mind. It's hard for me to even think how you do it. Sometimes being able to control your boat and cast and do everything you need to do, even just measuring fish. When I measure fish, I'm able to kneel down inside my boat, and I have the board on the floor of the boat, kind of like sideways in the boat, and I can measure my fish kneeling down next to it. I can't imagine having to measure it in your lap. It just
I put it
those
right in the
things
lap.
I don't have any experience.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing what he did this past tournament, though, with that wind and how it was swirling to be out there without a motor or drive and to do what you did.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And then the other thing on that is that measuring a fish on a board is a skill in itself. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Most of you guys know that no fish is getting off my board.
Yeah.
Death grip.
So any of you guys out there that are watching, if you got any questions, feel free to ask. I know Michael Thomas says, "What's up?" Brent Solfin said practically all tournaments anymore are roadrunner types, multiple launches on the same lake. And that's true. That came about from COVID, basically, because we used to all launch the same place before.
I miss shotgun starts.
What's that?
I said I missed the old shotgun starts back in like 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
everything was shotgun start. Yeah,
we still do a few of those up here.
Yeah, I guess because we have minimal ramps at some of these lakes around here.
Yeah, it's like we're like the city pool when we fish.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, that's one thing about they do that Tanny 20, the top 20 from Moyac in the spring. It's a shotgun start down there on Lake Taneycomo, and that's kind of a neat deal.
Yeah, and so
I don't even try whenever that goes on. I just kind of sit back and let everybody take off, and then I'll come paddling along.
Yeah.
Nice. So each of you here, just a tip for a new guy. There might be a new guy watching that, or a new guy's going to watch this. Something to give them, maybe to, a tip or two about what to expect and maybe what to focus on when they're getting started. Because it's changing so fast. And I want to add to that. A lot of guys get in. Well, they think I've got to have this. I got to have that. I'm just going to tell you my perspective is, hey, you just need a kayak, a paddle, a rod, a few lures, and go out and enjoy yourself. Just get started.
Right. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink.
Yeah. So what would you guys tell somebody new getting into it?
Well, something I say frequently, because I've been fishing tournaments for over 25 years, and something I think new people they don't really, you can say it, but it's still hard for them to really to comprehend it, is how important time on the water is. And that doesn't mean just like 1 year of fishing all you can. It almost takes a lifetime of building up knowledge, and so just not to get too frustrated if you struggle in the beginning, because it's a skill set that just takes years of development. And just don't set your expectations too high. Just try and go out and learn, have a good time, find some people that that you enjoy fishing with, and help each other, and just try to go out and enjoy yourself. and don't get too frustrated if, you know, you're maybe not doing so well in the tournaments in the beginning, because I fished like in the bass boat club that I was in. I fished 10 years, with a couple different team partners, 10 years before I ever won a single event. And so, I mean, it's not, it may seem easy from the outside sometimes, but it's, you know, just something that takes a lot of time on the water to develop.
Absolutely. Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I would say thing that I learned doing this. I've been fishing my whole life, but I just started doing this tournament fishing last year. So this is only my second year really doing this. And the biggest thing for me was just trusting your gut. You know, just because this guy's catching fish on this bait or this guy's fishing over there, like trust your gut and do what you do, fish your strengths, and it'll happen. You know, I mean, all three of us here were throwing 3 different baits and we all finished in the top, you know, just because one guy was throwing one thing, you know, you don't have to change up your game, you know, fish to what you're confident in and you'll get fish in the boat.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Good point. What about you, Dorman? What'd you tell somebody?
Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it is the main thing. I mean, it's a lot easier to go out and do and just with the practice, you know, and all that. You don't need all this fancy gear and all that to win a tournament. Like I don't have that finder. I don't have anything but my paddle, my fishing poles, my tackle, and my catch board. That is it. That's the way I've started, and that's the way I have been to this day.
Yeah. Nice.
Should I hardly even looked at my graph this weekend? I think the only time I looked at it was just to see what time it was. I mean, I fished 2 coves and only fished 1 bank on each of those coves, and I just kept going back and forth, and that's all I fished was just 2 stretches of water, and like the fish just kept reloading there.
Yeah. The one thing too that people, especially if they're beginners, they don't realize too is that a guy, and you know this, Chad, is guys in bass boats are going to find a pattern and they're going to make a milk run based on that pattern a lot of times.
Right.
You know, and whereas in a kayak, if you don't have a motor, basically, you're kind of going to pick apart a place till you figure it out. And that's what we all do. And then they just like a certain cove they get in and there's fish there and they're going to find them, you know. And the other thing is you don't want to get rattled if somebody catches a fish ahead of you because there's still fish there.
Now I've learned that big time doing this kayak thing. I mean, you think, oh, somebody's fishing that bank. I got to go across the lake and go try something completely new. I mean, you could go right behind the guy and he's throwing something different than you are, and you could trigger that bite.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter if you go behind somebody or not.
Right.
I don't think.
I used to think that was a big deal, and then it never really made a difference. You know, I would fish the bank, I'd turn around and I'd go down the same stretch again. You can still pull fish off of there.
It's all about the angles.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Anybody got any thoughts here before we go?
I'm good.
I don't think so. Thanks for having us, Marty.
Yeah.
Any shout outs, anybody? Shout outs?
No.
Yeah, of course I've got a few sponsors that I like to thank. Crockett Gator Bait Company, of course. You know, I think probably by now anybody who's been around me knows about a lot of their baits. Also dungarees.com. They're a big Carhartt retailer that they provide a lot of support to me, and Everhart's Outdoors in Clinton, Missouri. They're a huge supporter of the kayak community, and not only for me, but for Moyak and All American Series, All American Kayak Classic. They got a full line of Old Town and New Canoe kayaks, and pretty much anything for hunting and fishing that you could imagine in their store. Also crank wraps and Gorilla Grip gloves. I always have my Gorilla Grip gloves on. And Road Custom Apparel. They've made some really sweet jerseys and waterproof, windproof hoodies for me. So I'm appreciative to all of them.
Great. And by the way, the Crockett Gator, when I order from them, they always throw something in. Hey, give this a try, you know. And they always write me a note. I don't know who is that guy.
That's Joey.
Joey.
Joey is a woman.
Oh.
And she there's her and her husband and some of their family purchased Kayakjak Bait Company from Jim and Denise Dill, who owned it for over 10 years.
Mhm.
And so this is the first full year that Joey has been running Kayakjak, and she has been doing an amazing job. She's such a nice person. She's so energetic, and she's been putting so much effort into it. They've released a number of new baits this year, which that's a really big deal. They've got a new swim jig out. They released the Kayakjak tubes are great tubes, some of the best tubes out there, and they released like 4 different new colors that are really awesome colors. And then of course the X Toad for that X Bite buzzbait has been a huge success for them this year. It was sold out for a while, so she's been knocking it out of the park.
Nice. Well, thanks, Joey, on that. And then anybody else have anything that anybody they associate with, or?
I'll have to give me some of those buzz baits to try. I throw some Strike King buzz toads and stuff, but seeing your picture, how they have that trailer hook and that little notch in there for that trailer hook. I mean, it's a really nice setup there.
It is a nice setup.
Yeah, there's nothing else like it.
No, that's a whole nother level.
Yep.
That was actually that was developed by his name is Connor Cunningham. He's on the Kayakjak Pro staff, and he won the BFL All-American this year. And I think he was pretty much behind the design of that X Toad and worked with Kayakjak to develop it and produce it. So it's pretty neat. Nothing else like it out there for the buzzbait.
Nice. Hey, real quick, some comments here. We got some time here. Congrats from Michael. Tyler Paul Kopp says we need more old towns in Nebraska. Well, here's the deal. We have lots of old towns in Nebraska. You guys get that?
Yeah, you live in one.
Yeah. And then great year, guys. Great information by Stacy Jordan and Tyler Paul Kopp, and congrats. James Francis says there's some hammers right there. Brett Solfin says Chad should help out the Mizzou bass team. Is that for the KFL or is that for the Truman?
He's probably college.
Oh, you might be talking about the University of Missouri. They have a college. College bass team.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, you could help them. Be a coach.
I've known several of the guys that were on the team through just running into them at the tackle shop and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 6 or 7-figure coaching job, probably.
Well, yeah, surely. Yeah, Mizzou Athletics, they got a lot of money, so
yeah. And then anyway, I want to thank you guys too for coming on here. This, pretty low key, pretty generic here. We're not, just kind of giving some information out to people that want to try it, and then also to showcase, what guys are actually doing out there, and also, giving recognition to these people that are putting these events on. I'm going to just mention Joshua Booth, who's just unbelievable tournament director. James Leggett up here in Nebraska, and his guys are doing a great job. I don't know who runs IAC, but I know Tyler Cole does a lot. For
Casey
that.
does it. Casey Day, I think, runs it.
Casey?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so we're pretty fortunate to have guys like that put on these events and get us the sponsors to make it work for everybody. And it's not really so much about the money as it is like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Money's nice, but a lot of guys are like, I never got a check. Well, it's not about that. Sorry. I'm just that way.
No, I did a lot of the tournaments I did this year was more of the experience, like bucket list stuff, Lake Fork, lacrosse, and then it's just kind of a bonus that you fish well and cash a check or qualify for something.
Right.
It's just a bonus on top of it.
Right now, Chad, in your case, you probably have to work for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to have to spend some time trying to collect expenses because I've never had to worry about paying taxes on my winnings before, but this year it's looking like I'm going to have some issues with that. So I'm going back and trying to figure out every little thing that I can deduct. But
yeah. Now here's an idea for you guys out there that are making money from kayak fishing is, I started my outfitting service in 2004, not knowing that I'd be fishing tournaments and making a little bit of money, but it has been a great advantage for deductions for travel. For me, huge deductions for that. So, and I've run that business now a long time, but you can have a side gig like that, and of course you pay personal property tax on your kayaks and things like that, but still I think it's worth the effort because you save a lot of money when you do win big, because the taxes they can hit you pretty good.
yeah.
Chris Longshore said, "Nice looking All-American trophy behind you guys."
Yeah, we got a couple of them in the picture here.
Yeah. And so anyway, appreciate you guys being on and looking forward to next year. And if there's anything we can ever do for you guys, let us know here. If you guys got ideas, share them. I know it's really cool to see your finishes. I know some of us don't go to some of the tournaments. It's fun to watch how the tournament transpires through the day. And we're always pulling for you guys, just so you know, when you're out there.
We appreciate it.
Yep.
You bet.
Well, thanks, Marty. One of these days, I would like to get in depth on how you do your Nico rig, because that's something I have yet to learn.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I just fish it a lot, and
All day, every day.
I will tell you though, honestly, I did take 50. I had 50 that I made for nationals, KBF, and I used 49 of them. I lost 49 of them because the drum would rip them off, or they get caught down. The bluegills are savages down there, and they would take them down in the cracks, and so I couldn't get them back out. But I will tell you, I had one left. Now these were the little. I made some little, not 1/8 ounce, but like 30 real light ones, so they would drop real slow because I use different weights on them. Yeah. And on that last one, I had 2 bass that day on the third day. That's all I had. And I had 1 Nico left that I thought would work. And that's when I caught that 20 3/4 inch smallie. And then I caught 2 bass after that on that same Nico, and I still have it. And it's a souvenir now.
Yeah.
Wow.
But anyway, I had some other Nikos, but they were different color, but green pumpkin was the color.
Yeah.
It was a color. Yeah.
And I used I make my own heads, and they were green pumpkin, red flake. And the water's kind of clear enough to see that for them fish. So I think that little tinge of red in there might have, I don't know. I just think it just seemed that was the only thing that was working for me, when I was fishing. So anyway, I'd be glad to show you anytime. We'll fish together sometime. And
sounds great.
I'm not an expert. I just fish it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an expert.
Yeah, it's caught a lot of fish for me. Just, everybody has their strengths, what they're confident. And that's mine. And a lot of guys up here fish it now, but I fish a lot of rock, and that's where it seems to work a lot, on that. So, all right. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here, and we'll see if we can get this thing shared and go from there. And looking forward to next year seeing you guys on the water. All right.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, guys.
Have a nice one.
Yeah. Congrats, guys, on the win this weekend.
All right.
Thank you. You too.